James and his friends had been eagerly waiting for their diving adventure and finally set out to sea. They put on their diving gear and jumped into the water. The deep blue depths they hoped to explore filled them with excitement. However, as they descended deeper, they encountered the cold and dark face of the sea. After swimming for a while, they came across an old shipwreck. The ship was covered in seaweed, struggling against the ravages of time and the ocean. As they approached the wreck, James felt a strange unease. While exploring the wreckage, he sensed an eerie energy. When they entered the interior of the ship, they encountered dark and narrow corridors. James turned on his flashlight and proceeded. Suddenly, he saw indistinct movements in the water. When he turned to his friends, he realized that no one was there. Panicked, he continued to move forward, but shadows in the water were following him. In the depths of the shipwreck, he found an old chest. When he opened the chest, he examined the parchments inside. The writings on them told of an ancient curse. As James tried to decipher the meanings of the writings, he heard a scream in the water. When he immediately turned around, he saw a dark figure approaching him. He tried to flee, but it was as if the water was anchoring him in place. As the figure drew closer, it looked into James's eyes and whispered in a cold voice, "The curse of this ship has found you." James struggled to escape, but he couldn't move underwater. Suddenly, a strong hand pulled him out. His friend William was pulling him towards the surface. When they surfaced, James tried to understand if what he had experienced was real, but he still held that cursed parchment in his hand. When they returned to the boat, James recounted what had happened. No one believed him, but he kept those parchments. From that day on, the dark figure always appeared in James's dreams. The curse's influence followed him from the depths of the sea. One night, he again heard those screams in his sleep and woke up to examine the parchments. He realized that a ritual was needed to break the curse. However, to perform the ritual, he had to dive into the deep sea again. With a mixture of fear and determination, he decided that one day he would dive again to break the curse forever. Oliver and his team were diving in the middle of the ocean, hoping to find the wreck of a ship that had been lost for years. According to legends, this ship had sunk due to a mermaid's curse. This story had piqued Oliver's interest, and he and his team plunged into the water. As they descended deeper, the wreck of the ship appeared. The wooden structure of the ship was covered in seaweed and had rotted in the salty waters of the ocean. As Oliver made his way to the captain's cabin, he began to hear a strange melody underwater. The melody seemed to hypnotize him. When he reached the captain's cabin, he found an old diary. The diary contained entries about how the captain had heard the mermaid's songs and how his ship had been cursed. Curious if the curse was real, Oliver examined the diary. At that moment, he noticed shadows moving in the water. Oliver wanted to turn back and call for his team, but he couldn't see anyone. Panic-stricken, he continued to explore the ship. Suddenly, a bright light in front of him caught his attention. As he approached the light, he saw the mermaid. Her eyes glowed as if pulling him into a deep sleep. As the mermaid danced around Oliver, her melody grew louder. Oliver, mesmerized, couldn't move. The mermaid approached him and whispered in a cold voice, "Everyone who comes to this ship is cursed." Oliver tried to escape, but the mermaid dragged him into the depths of the water. Just then, one of his team members pulled him out. Emily was pulling Oliver towards the surface as he tried to comprehend what was happening. When they surfaced, Oliver questioned whether what he had experienced was real. However, he still held the captain's diary in his hand. When they returned to the boat, Oliver recounted what had happened. No one believed him, but he still heard the mermaid's melody in his mind. He never dared to dive into those depths again. However, at night, the mermaid's song echoed in his dreams. Oliver believed that one day he would find a way to end the curse. But until that day, the mermaid's curse would never leave him. Alice and her crew had embarked on a routine underwater exploration. The sea was calm and the sun shone brightly as they dove into the depths. Their goal was to map an uncharted shipwreck, rumored to hold mysterious artifacts. As they descended, the shipwreck came into view, lying eerily still on the ocean floor. The ship's timbers, covered in marine life, seemed almost alive. Alice, leading the team, swam towards the captain's quarters. As she entered, she felt a sudden chill, despite the warm waters. Inside, she found an ancient journal, its pages still intact. As she flipped through the pages, she read about the ship's final voyage and a strange, whispering voice that had led the crew to their doom. Alice dismissed it as a sailor's superstition, but a faint whisper echoed through the water, making her heart race. Suddenly, the whisper grew louder, more insistent. Alice looked around, trying to locate the source. She saw a shadowy figure at the far end of the room, moving towards her. Panicked, she tried to signal her team, but the figure's whispers filled her mind, drowning out her thoughts. The figure reached out, its touch cold and unsettling. Alice felt herself being pulled into the past, witnessing the ship's crew succumbing to madness and despair. The whispers grew louder, telling her to join them, to become one with the shipwreck. Just as she felt herself giving in, her teammate Jack grabbed her arm and pulled her back. The sudden jolt snapped her out of the trance, and the whispers faded. Together they quickly swam to the surface, leaving the cursed shipwreck behind. On the boat, Alice tried to explain what had happened, but her voice trembled with fear. The ancient journal was the only proof of her encounter. As the sun set, the whispers still echoed in her mind, a haunting reminder of the shipwreck's curse. Alice vowed never to return to those depths again, but she knew the whispers would haunt her forever. James and his team were seasoned divers, known for their deep-sea explorations. Their latest mission was to investigate a shipwreck rumored to appear only under the full moon, known as the Ghost Ship of Blackwater Bay. As they sailed into the bay, the full moon cast an eerie glow on the water. The sea was unnaturally calm. James led the descent, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. As they went deeper, a ghostly galleon emerged from the shadows, its rotting wood almost untouched by time. They reached the deck, where an otherworldly silence prevailed. James motioned for his team to spread out. Inside the captain's cabin, he felt a sudden chill. His breath fogged up his mask, and a sense of dread washed over him. He found a logbook detailing the crew's descent into madness, driven by ghostly whispers. A faint whisper echoed through the cabin. James spun around, his flashlight revealing nothing but empty space. The whisper grew louder, a chorus of voices pleading for help. Cold hands brushed against his arm. Outside, his team experienced their own horrors. Sarah saw spectral figures, their hollow eyes staring into hers. Jack felt unseen hands pushing him down. James signaled to his team, but the whispers turned to wails, the spirits desperate to share their torment. As they ascended, the cries grew more frantic. Breaking the surface, they scrambled back onto their boat, the oppressive atmosphere lifting slightly. That night, the whispers returned, haunting James's dreams. Determined to end their suffering, James discovered the galleon was cursed by a vengeful sea witch. The curse could only be lifted by returning a stolen artifact to the ocean's depths. Gathering his team, they located the artifact, a jeweled compass in the captain's cabin. As they descended once more, the air felt heavier. Placing the compass on the deck, they recited an old incantation. The water churned. A bright light enveloped the ship. The spirits appeared, their faces showing gratitude. As the light faded, the shipwreck dissolved. The curse lifted. James and his team surfaced. The weight of the curse lifted from their shoulders. They returned to shore, knowing they had freed the lost souls of Blackwater Bay, forever haunted by the thin veil between the living and the dead.